Good morning, everyone. When I was asked to take a look at Copilot, it was interesting to find out if there was anything that was similar. I should say for Copilot for Windows 11, it was interesting to see if there was anything similar for the Mac. And so our presentation, of course, is the series that we've been talking about, exploring similarities and shared features. Well, in the age of AI tools transforming workplaces, Microsoft's Copilot emerges as a revolutionary addition. This presentation is a discussion on Microsoft Copilot for Mac. I will try to show features, download process, user experience, compatibility, support system, empower you to seamlessly navigate this cutting-edge tool. However, Apple currently does not have an AI app available for Mac OS. Siri is Apple's digital assistant, but it does not use a large language model. Siri uses voice queries, gesture-based control, focus tracking, and a natural language user interface to answer questions, make recommendations, and perform actions by delegating requests to a set of internet services. Both the information, which is a blog, and an analyst, ℙ𝕝𝕗, claims that Apple will have some kind of generative AI feature available on the iPhone and iPad around the late 2024. And when iOS 18 will become, that's when iOS 18 will be coming out. He also said in October that Apple is building a few hundred AI servers in 2023, with more of that in 2024. So Microsoft's Copilot is an app that's not available for Mac OS as it is in Windows 11 at this time. According to the Microsoft community site, there's no expected release date for this function, but we may be seeing it utilized in Mac OS in the future. It is a feature with Microsoft 365, which is formerly Microsoft Office. And as you're aware that you can install Microsoft 365 on Mac computers. But while you're waiting, we can explore Copilot's capabilities on the official 365 blog. And what I mean is that the Copilot is actually will be built into Microsoft 365. And some of the features of that will be say, for instance, in Word, it'll be able to write, edit, summarize, and create content using natural language, get style, tone, and clarity suggestions. In PowerPoint, it'll be able to create stunning presentations with custom images, concise text, and original titles. In Outlook, you can compose effective emails, get coaching on messaging, and manage tasks and your inbox. In OneNote, it'll organize your notes, images, data with lists, tables, charts, and summaries. And in the business chat, it will be able to perform tasks across Microsoft 365 apps to find information and get answers to your questions. So how to use Microsoft Copilot on the Mac. Microsoft is introducing new capabilities to enhance the power of Copilot in Microsoft 365, E3, and E5. Now, be mindful is that Microsoft has changed the names of Microsoft Office. If you're familiar with in the past, it's had Home and Student Editions, it's had Microsoft Professional, etc. And those titles are no longer applicable to Microsoft 365. So when you're out shopping, you probably need to become familiar with the new nomenclature. But the important thing is that these enhancements that's in Microsoft 365 is something called semantic index for Copilot. And unlike simple keyword searches, the semantic index understands the context of your queries. For instance, when you inquire if you were to inquire for the March sales report, it just look for those words. It comprehends that sales reports are produced by the finance team, and it's created in Excel. This deeper understanding aids in delivering precise and relevant results. So in this screenshot, you see here where, in fact, when the query was made about the March sales report, it actually created an Excel spreadsheet to show that information. Also, if you were using Copilot in PowerPoint, it's Open AI image generator, ℸ𝕉 is used to create custom images based on your prompts. And you can ask Copilot to generate specific images for your presentations, making your slides more engaging and visually appealing, such as this example here. The best alternative while we're waiting for Microsoft Copilot to appear in Microsoft 365 for the Mac is WPS AI. And you ask, what is a WPS AI? Well, it's a modernized, powerful AI tool by WPS Office, serving as an excellent alternative to Microsoft Copilot. It enhances productivity, offering cross-platform support, ease of use, advanced features for document creation and data analysis. It is ideal for users seeking a versatile AI companion on their preferred devices. Unlike Microsoft Copilot, which is still in limited preview and only works with Microsoft 365 apps, WPS AI is available to everyone who has a WPS account. And you can sign up for it free and get early access to the WPS AI features. Those features are Words Creative Sidekick, translation, lyric, poetry generation, letter, resume writing, blog, thesis composition, summarization at a glance, book, reports, research papers, technical documents, and business proposal summaries. Chat with PDFs, multi-file chat, PDF report analysis, textbook and historical document comprehension. OCR reinvented, text recognition for books, text extraction, fast reading, brochures, marketing, and material summaries. Data Genius and Spreadsheet, which is coming soon, will give formulas, writing, explanations, chart generation, data analysis, and table query. How to get WPS AI? To get it, you go to the WPS AI website, and there's a free download. You just click on the free download button, choose your operating system. In this case, it would be Mac. You follow the steps on the screen to install it. And then the file will immediately be downloaded. And Microsoft, another feature that you can use for your Mac is use the Microsoft Copilot with Edge Bing chat. And you can access some of the Copilot features through Edge using the Bing search. And to do that, you would download the Microsoft Edge for Mac. And to do so, you go to the Mac Edge download page, click on Download for Mac OS. And once the download is completed, open the downloaded file, drag the Microsoft Edge icon to the application folder, open Edge from the application folder, and then alternate, you can also download and install Microsoft Edge from the App Store on your Mac. And so what that will give you is Copilot with Bing Chat. Unfortunately, Microsoft limits each user to 5 questions per session and 50 questions per day. The Bing feature allows users to type in questions and converse with the search engine created to deliver better search results and spark creativity. Designed by OpenAI, the same group that created the controversial ChatGPT, Chatting with Bing was released to the limited group of Microsoft users in early February for feedback purposes. So in summary, in the dynamic landscape of AI-powered tools, we have attempted to unravel the intricacies of Microsoft Copilot and its Mac compatibility. Equipped with the insights into Copilot's features, limitations, and usage, you're now poised to maximize its potential. However, the journey doesn't end there. Amidst the AI revolution, WPS AI emerges as a compelling alternative offering versatility, cross-platform functionality, and an array of features that transcends limitations. As you explore AI-driven productivity, consider WPS AI's capabilities for document creation, data analysis, and summarization. You can use Bing's Copilot as an alternative. There are some limitations and disadvantages to Bing Chat as listed in the Profolis article. Some of the key limitations are limited chats and sessions, lack of more creative responsive, chat responses are shorter, limited tailor-fitted responses. Problems with hallucinations, high system requirements, slower chat response times, and notable ethical and legal issues. The reference we used for this is infirst.com, ℙ𝕝𝕝𝕟𝕉𝕋.com, and the WPS website. I'll be glad to ask any questions about this presentation in our Q&A after the program.
That's good coffee. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we help seniors understand technology and also help them find a great cup of coffee to drink. So today we're going to talk about coffee roasting. Yes, coffee roasting. And you're going to wonder why we're not talking about technology. Well, actually, we will be. We're going to talk about information and how you get your information today. Boy, has it changed a lot since I graduated from medicine in 1976 at the University of Alberta in Canada. So many of you know I'm an amateur barista. I enjoy coffee. I have a number of coffee machines. This one you're seeing is made by Rocket. It's from Milan, Italy. It's really flashy, and you'll see a Charge 6 on the top. I often use it as a backdrop in some of my videos. This is one of the coffee machines I have to create coffees that I really enjoy. Now, before we talk about roasting coffee, let me give a plug for coffee roasters. If you type in your Google search local coffee roasters, you will be amazed at the number of people who have this as a hobby and sell coffee that they've roasted, and you'll get some of the best coffee you have ever tasted. In our area here, which is pretty rural, we have about 5 people doing it. I know Bill James is interested in coffee. He's on our show. And when he did the search, he found not only was there a lot of coffee roasters in Oklahoma City, but he had someone right across the street he never even knew. So it is a plug. If you do have local coffee roasters, give them a try. You'll find some great coffee there. So the date this past year was August the 7th. It was a Monday. I was sitting there after the Tech for Seniors show watching a few YouTube videos. And you know how YouTube is. If you watch something in the coffee area, then they'll certainly show you other videos about that. And I started to listen to a video about roasting coffee at home by the Virtual Coffee Lab. I watched the video and got more interested in this. And I thought, I wonder if people roast coffee at home. I wonder if it's possible to do that. I had absolutely no idea about anything regarding roasting. So I was interested and wanted to look for more information. Now, I guess if I went back to 1976, before we had computers, before we had the internet, I guess I would go to the library and pull a book out and try and find something to do about roasting. I'd read a book about it. I might even find the names of some clubs that I could write away. Remember those letters we used to write and put a stamp on them right away and say, hey, can I be a member of your club? Or maybe there would be some in-person meetings in the area that I was in. Or maybe, remember magazines? Maybe they had a home coffee roasting magazine. Those would be sort of the types of things that I would do to get information about coffee roasting. But, of course, with technology, internet, computers, and particularly YouTube now, I was able to answer all the questions that I wanted to know about coffee roasting in a very short time, because I could easily watch and consume a lot of YouTube videos, which gave me the knowledge that I needed. And let me go through the questions that I had to answer. So what's the difference between 1976 and today? Well, back in 1976, it would have taken me a long time to get the information I needed. But today, particularly with YouTube, I was quickly able over the next month to watch a lot of videos and get a lot of really important information and know where the knowledge base was to do an assessment and decide, do I want to get into roasting? So here are the questions I wanted answered before I was going to embark on this hobby. The first was, is it common? Do people do this sort of thing? So I guess many of you have made wine, beer, and maybe some other things in your past. And you've had a lot of fun doing it. It's a hobby, and a lot of people do it. Well, I found out that there's a lot of people that roast coffee at home. It's a very popular thing to do. Well, that's news to me, but great news. Second thing is, I guess you need unroasted beans, right? You need beans that are what we call green beans, not roasted. Where would you possibly find them? I've never seen them in Costco or any of the grocery stores. Well, it just so happens it's very easy to find green beans. In fact, guess where you might find them easiest? Yes, you read my mind, Amazon. Yes, that's very easy. You can get a wide variety of beans sold on Amazon. Now, the next thing that I found out was, of course, in Western Canada, in ℙ𝕝𝕉, Alberta, which is just south of where I graduated from, is actually a big Western Canada distributor for coffee called the Green Coffee Company. Now, in the United States, there's Sweet Maria's and a lot of large coffee distributors of green coffee, so you have a really big choice. In fact, green beans are just as easy to find as roasted ones. That's the fact now. All right, so then how do you actually roast coffee? Interesting. Let me just tell you that 70 countries around the world grow and produce coffee. That's a lot of coffee produced every year. But if you wanted to have a cup of coffee in different countries, all the way in which they make the coffee is different. For example, if you had an espresso in Milan, Italy, it would be different than a pour-over coffee that you might have in Chicago. That would be different than a Turkish coffee when visiting Turkey, or different than a coffee in Paris. So they're all made differently, and actually each country has their own way of making coffee. And behind me, you'll see a picture of my daughter in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, who on her first day at the school she's teaching at, they had a coffee ceremony, and the lady is actually roasting some coffee in a frying pan. And that is, folks, the most common way of roasting coffee in the world today is roasting it in a frying pan. Didn't know that, did you? The second way that is very common is in a popcorn popper. Yes, popcorn, a hot air popcorn popper. In fact, Sweet Maria's has developed their own type of popcorn, hot air popcorn popper that you can purchase. And yes, it whirls around and pops just like popcorn. Of course, you can also you can roast coffee in your oven. And also you can roast coffee using an air fryer. Yes, an air fryer. Or if you have a convection oven on your counter. There is, of course, a whole industry devoted to making roasting machines, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. You can even do coffee roasting on your barbecue. And that was sort of interesting, and I looked into that before making my decision. So after a lot of review of the data, I decided to purchase a coffee roasting machine, a ℸ𝕝 machine made by a company called ℸ𝕝𝕝, B-E-H-M-O-R. Now, why did I choose this? Well, because this company's been around for about 15 years. They've sold millions of units all over the world. if you talk to anybody about coffee roasting, they all have had or do have a ℸ𝕝𝕝 coffee roaster. The cost of these are around $600 Canadian, and one of the suppliers I deal with coffee equipment that I have, like that rocket machine, readily had these available and would quickly ship me one. So I decided to go with the ℸ𝕝𝕝. It's a home roaster. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. It's a drum machine, and it has a heat source and heats it, and that's how I decided to start my hobby of roasting coffee. All right, let me dispel a couple of myths. First of all, green coffee beans. When you get these, and you'll see some in the background there, these are smaller beans that you would normally expect from ones you buy. Also, they don't smell like coffee. They smell sort of like a wet plant, like I guess maybe wheat or something like that. If you're walking through a wheat field and smell it, it smells like a plant rather than coffee bean. The other thing is that if you go to a coffee house, I'm sure you've been to some, and you walk in and, oh, there's that wonderful smell of coffee. You think that's so great, and they probably have a roaster there, and at certain times of the week they would roast coffee, and you could go in there and you'd smell this great coffee. Well, that's not true at all. In fact, what you're smelling when you go in there is probably the brewing of the coffee that has been sitting around in their bins that they're selling. You can sometimes smell the smell of coffee at that time. But the actual roasting of the coffee, not so good a smell. It's more like an acrid smoke that it creates, and you don't get a great smell from the roasting part of it. So let me go through the phases of roasting coffee, which I thought you might find interesting. So I usually roast my coffee at about half a pound at a time. Now, the time that it takes to do a batch of roasting is around 12 minutes. So when I heat the machine up and put the coffee in the roaster, it's going to turn around as there's a heat source in there that heats the beans up. Now, the first 4 to 5 minutes when the green beans go in there, the heat source is going to be drying them out. Coffee inherently has moisture in it, so that first period of time is basically a drying reaction, and they go from green to yellow. Now, the second probably 4 minutes or so that occurs is when the beans go through a browning phase. And this is a development phase which actually creates the color, the brownness of the coffee, and also creates the taste as the enzymes inside the bean get cooked, right? It's the same as taking an onion and frying it on the stove and caramelizing it. You know, you get the Maillard reaction occurring. So this is sort of the same thing. We're browning it, and we're creating taste in that second phase where the bean is expanding as well. It's getting bigger, it's getting browner, and we're sort of making the coffee taste inside the bean. So the big thing about the roasting cycle, and you'll see it on the back here, the big thing about a roasting cycle is what we call first crack. And what is first crack? Well, that's after the browning phase. What happens is the beans get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all that water vapor inside has to be released, and they go pop. And it's exactly the same as first pop on your popcorn. That's right. It goes pop, 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 pop. And that's exactly what happens as the beans open up and all that moisture comes out of them. And that's first crack. And that's so important on your roasting cycle, and everything's timed as per first crack. Yes, there is a second crack. Now, the time frame between the first crack and the second crack is quick. It only occurs, it takes about 2 minutes to go between that first and second crack. If you like a lighter coffee, you like a fruitier coffee, then you would take that, you'd stop the roast right after first crack. The longer you leave the bean in between first and second crack, the darker the roast. So what happens after the bean cracks in between in that 2 minutes? Well, the beans get drier and drier, and they become actually what we call exothermic. They actually give off heat. In the process before first crack, they're absorbing heat and getting hotter and expanding. But after they burst open, they start to give off heat. So you have to be careful of your temperature. And they essentially are drying out very quickly and becoming a dark roast. Now, there is actually a second crack, which usually occurs in about 2 minutes, and that is when the actual structure of the cells in the bean start to disintegrate because they're just dry and there's nothing left, and that's CO2 gas being giving off, and you can hear the sound of that is a tick, 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 tick. It's a little ticking sound, tick, 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 like that, and that is second crack. So sometime between first and second crack, you'll probably want to stop the roast. There, of course, everybody wants to experiment further on and keep roasting after second crack, and oh boy, am I going to get a really nice dark roast. And you can do that to a very small degree because, of course, the beans now are very dry and very hot, and you stand chance of getting a fire in your roaster if you push the envelope too much. Then you want to take them off and cool them down right away, and you have your coffee. Well, not quite yet. You have to wait about 3 days for the coffee to what we call degas, and then you can have a great cup of coffee in 3 days. It's not like making wine where you got to wait 6 months, or beer you got to wait a year. You can drink your coffee at 3 days after you roast it, and wow, it tastes great. So what have I learned in my first 30 roasts? Well, the first thing is, when I started using my ℸ𝕝 machine in the house, all the fire detectors went off. It is a very smoky process, even though my machine has, it's like a catalytic converter that's supposed to burn off the smoke. It still is a lot of smoke in the house. So I quickly learned I'm going to have to do this outdoors. And that's why doing it on the barbecue was sort of interesting. One of the problems about using it in other equipment, such as an air fryer, is because of the acrid smoke that it gives off, you really don't want to be roasting roast beef in the same machine that you're roasting your coffee in, or vice versa. So the barbecue was an interesting one because, of course, it is outside. So I roast my coffee, of course, outside now, and that works out better. But the biggest problem I have, and this is a nice problem to have, but a big one that all coffee roasters have, is that I give samples away to all my friends and ask them what they think. They all say, Ron, that's the best coffee I've ever tasted. Can you roast me a couple of pounds? Well, this adds up, and now I'm roasting more and more and more. Although I'm having lots of fun, I'm going to have to say to my friends, look, this is enough. So thank you for listening to my little story on coffee roasting today. The real point I wanted to make is really how I obtained the information about roasting as compared to how I would have done it many years ago. Maybe there are magazines now, maybe there are books in the library, but basically I obtained all the information I need, and through YouTube and the connections I have there now. And it's an ongoing learning process of which there are regular shows and programs coming out on YouTube that will further my knowledge in this very interesting hobby I have. So it's been a great day. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you have a great cup of coffee. And until we see you again, it's Ron Brown with ℎ𝕝𝕝.
Listen to the web with Recast. I'm Hewie Poplock. ℎ𝕝𝕝.ai is an AI-powered app that transforms articles into concise audio conversations, offering a modern solution to traditional reading. Users can submit articles through the app or browser extensions, and then AI converts them into engaging audio summaries. The app also provides a personalized For You playlist, allowing users to personalize the voice, speed, and style of the audio summaries according to their preferences. ℎ𝕝𝕝.ai, or Recast, aims to summarize various types of articles, from news to blog posts, into podcasts, providing a refreshing break from constant screen time and saving reading time.
This is a recast of the 500-word piece, iOS 18, All the Rumors and Known Features So Far, from ℙ𝕝𝕜𝕋.com. Let's listen in.
The article is all about the upcoming iOS 18 update for iPhone users. It's still a few months away from being announced, but there are already some rumors and expectations floating around.
These are predetermined channels that are already done for you, and you can see there are several of them. But as we go down to the bottom, we can then click on one of them, and we'll see a list of some of the articles that are in one of the listings.
This is a recast of the 1,300-word piece, Opinion: The Fight for the Soul of AI, from the New York Times. Let's listen in.
This article is all about OpenAI.
In the Discover tab, you can go through and look at various topics that are new and noteworthy, and you can click on them. As you click on them, it builds a list that we will see, and we can then play that list. We now have several items marked as what we want to watch, and so now that we can go to my recasts, we'll see that list, and that list is editable, and then we can play the first one and it'll go through each of them. The three dots to the right, when you click on it, gives you several possibilities. You can share this recast, you can share at current position, embed the recast, open details, send feedback, or move it up or down. You can see we just moved it down one, and now we'll play the top one, and this is what we get.
This is a recast of the 600-word piece, Vegetables You Can Chop in Advance, and the Ones You Shouldn't, from Lifehacker. Let's listen in.
So the article talks about prepping vegetables for Thanksgiving and how some can be prepared in advance while others are best chopped right before using.
The article mentions that non-starchy root vegetables like sweet potatoes, beets.
Each recast has 2 speakers and always ends with, "That's it for today."
This is a recast of the 1,000-word piece, Reflections on Web Summit, Out of the Frying.
That's it for today.
You'll note that you can follow the text of the article, and that it always ends with, "That's it for today."
Many people believe he caught a cold from doing this and it led to his death. However, a re-examination of the evidence suggests that he actually died from a severe gastrointestinal illness, possibly typhoid, and not from a cold.
That's it for today.
This is a recast of the 600-word piece.
Every day you'll get a list of new articles, which you can then delete any that you don't want. You can share them. You can remove them from the list. Once you do that, it's gone. And then you go to the next article. You can also share an article. If I share a recast via email, this is what I get. And then there's a link there, and that link can be clicked, and the person can watch the recast. You can go to any website, copy the URL, then paste it into the Recast browser, and it will then create a recast for you to use. When someone clicks the link in the email to the recast, this is what they'll see. Recast works fine on iOS, an iPad, or an iPhone. However, you want to run it on Android, you'll have to have the web app, and you can also run it on your PC. Listen to the web with Recast. I'm Hewie Poplock.